What are the objective of this lesson? Of course, guys, is the first lesson, so no one it's very, just take it very easy, okay? We just want to go through the lesson objective, okay? Get to a little bit, as you can see, become familiar with the type of pilot training, how is it developed, the aviation opportunity that we'll have before, during, and after your training. Human factor in aviation, we will go through it, okay? Very interesting part, in my opinion. And basic understanding of the school's training program, okay? So pilot training, we will talk about what kind of training, what are you gonna have to follow to become actual pilot, okay? Aviation opportunity, what kind of ways do you have after your training and during your training? What are actually the outcome? Okay, then human factors in aviation, we'll go a little bit through it in order for you to know what to expect, especially during the flight training, and a basic understanding of the school training program. Okay, so how the school operates, and we will also go through learning management system. So basically, learning management system, guys, we'll go through it later. Okay, we will go deeper into the details, but basically is a management system. So it's what once upon a time was in the books, where you have to go in the library, or was in these big manuals. Okay, it's everything in a system, is in software. Okay, is installed there, and you have access, which you can actually access there with a password and a username, and there is actually everything, guys. I wish I had it once I was doing my pilot training, because it's a huge amount of source of information, and it's really, really, really well made. I personally, other instructor took care of it, so we really put a lot of effort into it in order to deliver you as much knowledge as possible. So I hope you will like it, and I hope you will use it for your preparation. So now I will send you the worksheet, okay? Which is where you will have to open in order to find the questions, okay? Now, some of you will be able to open it, others will not. Don't worry, for the whom of you who are not able to open it, okay? We will do it together, okay? We will get to the worksheet later. Let's get back to the presentation. Let's make a short, very short prehistory, not to bore you, okay? We don't want that today, especially. Okay, short prehistory about aviation. Okay, so Wright brothers. Okay, I think they were. I'm actually sure that they are actually the inventors of aviation. In 17 December 1903, the first controlled sustained flight of power heavier than aircraft. Okay, so they were able to get airborne for a certain amount of time with a powered aircraft which was heavier than air. Okay, we will see it also in the next lessons, but we have different type of aircraft. Okay, we have heavier than air, lighter than air, gliders, and so on. Okay, now, do you guys know, maybe because you read it, how long it was, the first flight in history? How long did it take? First flight in history took 12 seconds. Okay, so they were airborne for 12 seconds and then they crashed. Fortunately, no one was injured, but this is the part of the story. And then just 24 years later, on 21st May, the first non-transatlantic solo. Okay, so the first pilot who crossed the Atlantic Ocean in the aircraft called the Spirit of St. Louis. And yeah, only 25 years, and there was already a huge development. Okay. Then on October 1947, the first man to exceed the speed of sound, guys. Okay, and the 1961, 12th April, the first space flight with the Vostok 1. What happens then? that we've seen all this history, okay, and we've seen that 1903, 1924, all these dates. But at some point after the Second World War, what happened is that all the nations, okay, they organized a meeting and they said, guys, here we are flying, we are handling flight quite well, but there is a problem. We need to organize it somehow because everyone flies randomly, okay? It doesn't work like that. So the 7th December of 1944, 52 nations, okay, of course, representative of 52 nations, they actually met in Chicago, okay, at the Grand Ballroom of the Stevens Hotel, okay, and they signed the first thread, okay, the first paper, which was called International Civil Aviation Organization, or ICAO Convention, okay? So as I said, 52 countries in 1944, they decided to meet and to establish this new organization. But then what happened? Of course, some of them, they didn't come. Then they decided to come later. So at the end, the final ICAO was established in 1947. Okay, and what were the matters? So first matter was regulation of navigation. Okay, it doesn't work that you fly, you just take the aircraft and you fly randomly. It cannot work like that. Has to establish some pattern, has to establish some procedure. Okay, guys, procedure is a word that you will hear in your aviation career. It will be your surname, your nickname. It will be, procedure is something you will always hear, okay? So they decided to organize the navigation. Then they decided to establish also navigation facilities, okay? So airports, control towers, everything which matters to aviation, and so on, okay? And then they decided also to regulate each and every aspect of aviation. And how can you regulate it? We may see it. No, this is still the location actually of the International Civil Aviation Organization, which is, they took it in Chicago, but the headquarters is in Montreal, okay? Canada. So we were saying, how did they decided to regulate all these amount of regulation, information, facilitation, security, everything? They decided to do it through something called Standard and Recommended Practices, okay? SARPs, which is an amount of standard and recommended practices, which we will go deeper into the detail what they are later. And they were enclosed in something called annexes, okay? So let's say they made 18 annexes, which we can they can be similar to books or manuals, okay? And each of these annexes were about something differences, okay? Example, the number one is the personal licensing. Number two is rules of the air. Number three, meteorological service. We will not just go through them all together, okay? It doesn't make much sense. But you guys have to know that they exist, and that in all these annexes are enclosed the SARPs, standard and recommended practices. Now, what's important here? For your examination, annexes in particular will not be asked to you, but you may find actually question, for example, like what's the annex number one about? Exactly, licensing. So at this point, you can find a way to remember what they are about. I give an example. Annex number one is the personal licensing, and you can actually associate it with what's my objective number one? License, getting my license. So you can just remember it. Or aerodrome, okay? Like, for example, aerodrome, you can think about London Heathrow is 14 kilometers away from the center of London. So you can remember the number 14. And you have others, then we will not go through all of them, but at least so you know, okay? that they exist. Now, the standard and recommended practices, guys, are not rules. This is very important. These are standards and recommended practices. Do you guys know what's the difference between a rule and a standard? A rule is something which is mandatory. A standard is something which is stated, the same for each and every contracting person or individual or state, okay? So a standard, it's something that ICAO said, okay, you are free not to be inside our outside our organization, but if you are here, you have to follow certain standards. Then it's up to you to establish rules, okay? And that's what happened. You guys are from Germany, so Germany CAA will say, okay, you know what? I will not follow exactly the rules. Okay, let's say, sorry, I will not exactly follow the standard, but I will implement a rule which will actually respect the standard, which is the same for everyone. Okay. So this is a bit of differences between standard and rules. Now, can you guys open the worksheet, please? Do the question that I'm telling you. So first one, ICAO, is where is the headquarters of ICAO located? Where is it, guys? Chicago, New York, or Montreal? I want to know it from you, so you have to text me that because I don't know it.
Montreal.
Montreal, correct.
Yeah. Montreal.
Okay. Very good. ICAO annexes. So select the annex in which is possible to find information about aerodrome operations. So for the whom of you who can open it, you just have to click, okay? Click on the annex. What do you think, guys? Which one is the one for aerodromes? Do you guys remember?
14.
14. So you will click on 14, and that is correct. Okay, so you have been talking about ICAO, right? So now you decided that you want to do your flight training in Europe. So Europe has something called EASA, okay? It's a government body. It's like the main spot where they create rules, okay? Now, what do they do? EASA takes the rule from ICAO. Actually, don't take the rule from ICAO. Takes the standards from ICAO, okay? As we stated earlier. So ICAO set standards. They say, I want things to be done like that. Then it's up to you. Set the rules. So they take these standards and they implement rules, okay? Which everyone which is within EASA, Germany CAA, Italian CAA, French CAA, Austro-Control, Austrian CAA, Czech CAA, everyone, okay, will have to follow. Now, each one of them can implement the rule more or less same as EASA, okay? They can change them, but at one condition only, that they are never less strict, but they can only be more strict, okay? Let me give you an example, okay? So, Flying Academy, okay, decided that the minimum amount of fuel for final reserve during the day, okay, has to allow the aircraft to fly 45 minutes, okay? But the European rule is 30 minutes, okay? So Flying Academy says, no, we want to be on the safer side and add 15 more minutes. So that's our rules, okay? But actually EASA says, I'm good with 30 minutes, okay? So they implemented something more strict. Now, EASA is called European Aviation Safety Agency and is located in Cologne, Germany, okay? And below EASA, we have the CAAs, okay? The National Civil Aviation Authority. So in Czech Republic, we have the Czech CAA, but in each and every country, they have their own, okay? So Czech CAA is located in Prague, okay? And most of the other civil aviation authorities are located in different different countries, of course, but most of the time in the capitals. Okay, like for French CAA, they are in Paris. For Austrian CAA, they are in Vienna, and so on. So the next picture may be very helpful for you guys in order to understand exactly how the topic we were facing earlier. Okay, so ICAO set the standards, and then it gives standards to whoever decide to join them. So EASA, Europe, FAA, Federal Administration Authority, US, CASA, Australian one. Okay, so EASA decide to take the standards, implement regulation, which each and every country will have to follow. Okay, in this case, Czech CAA, the German CAA, and all other CAA in Europe. Now, the CAA regulates what is called ATO, okay, Air Training Operator. So the operator, okay, has to follow the implemented rules, okay. So you can see that the creation of all the regulations which regulates the navigation, the facilitations, the traffic, the aviation in general, has a way long process. Now it's very contracted. I showed it to you, very contracted, quite contracted, but it goes very many phases. Okay. So as I was telling you, an example could be the minimum required fuel, but also the minimum altitudes. Okay. Now, Flying Academy, Smartwings, Lufthansa, all of them, of course, Lufthansa will not take regulation from Czech CAA. Okay, they don't have any purpose, but they do take regulation from German CAA because it's where they are located. They are registered. Okay, and that's pretty much about the regulation. Licenses and ratings. Okay, so we have different type of license and ratings. We are mainly 5. Okay, these are actually licenses. Sorry, 4. The first one is light aircraft pilot license. Okay, the second one is the private pilot license. The first one, guys, with which you can go ahead in your flight training, but you cannot go ahead if you don't have the PPL. Then you will have CPL, commercial pilot license, and you will have the ATPL, which I think for most of you is what you are aiming for. Okay, so this is quite interesting because it's like a pyramid. Okay, you cannot get to CPL without the PPL. You cannot get to a TPL without having CPL. That's like that. That's stated. You cannot get to a TPL straight. The only thing that you can do, you can avoid doing, of course, light aircraft pilot license, which is for very light aircraft, and it's used mainly for recreational pilot operation. Now, we were saying that we have heavier than air, lighter than air aircraft, okay, and they are also divided in categories. We have airplane, helicopters, airships, gliders, okay? And most important, we have also classes, okay? Which are single engine, land or sea, and multi-engine, and many others, okay? Now, you will get your class of aircraft, okay? You will do your PPL, and your class of aircraft, what will be? Will be single engine, okay? Because you will start with a single engine. Then, slowly going on, okay, you will do, after you will do your ATPL, training pilot license theory, and after you will take your IFR rating, then you will get your CPL, you will get to another class of aircraft, which is the multi-engine piston, okay? So you will have at that moment 2 engine and not any more 1, okay? So the thing that you are more or less aiming for is this one, okay? This is what you are guys looking for, your license, okay? And if you are interested, guys, I have it here with me. I brought some stuff. it may be interesting for you to see. So this is exactly how it looks a license. Can you see it more or less? You guys see it? So what's written in here, it's written, of course, the operator, which for me is Austrian, okay? I decided to have an Austrian license, so is written Austro Control, which is the Austrian CAA. And then it's written in both languages usually, both English and language of the country, okay? And you can see, and is written pilot license. It's quite hard to see, but maybe you can see something. Now, once you open it, it becomes as long as is this, like this, okay? Pretty much like this. Of course, inside there are all your personal data, okay? So license number, name, surname, date of birth, where you born, everything. And in exactly the this page here is written everything that you accomplished from in aviation, okay? So you have IFR, you have CPL, you have flight instructor license, everything is indicated here, okay? Now, every time you will get some new rating or license, the authority will release a new one, okay? Either a new one, it depends on the authority, either a new one or they will just put a stamp there in addition, okay? My authority release a new one. This is more or less how it works. And once you will get a CPL, it will be indicated here. It will be quite hard to see, but it's here on top, below my finger, okay? Is written CPL. And it's written only the date, and that's it. Okay, what if for you guys will be your first license will be the PPL, so it will be written PPL. Why I tell you about the ICAO license, because the ICAO English exam. So basically ICAO is something which is mandatory in Europe for everyone, okay? And you guys have to do an exam, an ICAO English exam, in which you will be evaluated on your exposure on English, your pronunciation, how much your way of waiting or attending, like everything, okay? Everything about your English language, and especially about the aviation vocabulary, okay? You will also be given an exam of a small example of communication, which you will have to accomplish. And basically that's it. You have 3 levels of accomplishment, the 4, 5, and 6. The 4 will allow you to repeat the exam in 3 years. The 5 in 4 years, and the 6 never again, okay? So it's indicated in your license. They will have written there. First of all, it will be given to you a certificate, and then will be written in your license. Now, what's important? Why we need this? Because it will be required for not only our license, but our first solo. Okay. During your flight training, we will see also later that you will have some time solo. Okay. So the time when you will go for solo, you have to have with you the ICAO English exam. Okay. Everything clear about license and so on? If you may be interested, I also have I show you the difference with the American one. This is American one. Looks like a credit card. This is the one, and that's it. And it's the PPL, FAA, PPL. It's just a card, simple, like it would be your credit card, and that's it. They will give you this. Now, EASA theoretical exam. Guys, you will have to go through the theory part and the practical part, okay? This is gonna be most of your aviation training, okay? That's gonna be like simple as that. And kind of also like that once you will get in an airline company, if of course that's your goal, it's gonna be theoretical exam and then practical exam. Now, for your PPL, you will have 9 subjects. Okay, multiple choice questions like the one we've just done together, okay, about ICAO. And you will have 75% of minimum score in order to pass each and every subject. You have 18 calendar months after the first attempt. Okay, so once you will go for the first time, you will have 18 months to accomplish all of them. If you don't accomplish all of them, unfortunately, you will have to restart. Okay, now it's 18 months. It's quite a good number for PPL, but you will see for ATPL, which is quite much bigger, may not be that much. But of course, it depends on you. Now you have 6 sittings, but commonly called blocks. Okay. And in these 6 sittings, you have to be able to accomplish all subjects, all 9 subjects. If in these 6, at the end of these 6, you will not be able to accomplish all the subjects, of course, again, you will have to restart. And just keep in mind that for each subject, you have 4 attempts. So in these 6 blocks, 4 attempts per subject, everything has to fit here, okay? Yes, it will not be round up, this is 74.9. I personally, in my CAA, I don't even know how to know if I am doing 74.9. You basically, like that, you will not know. You will have to go through it to ask, to just appeal, it's called. Most of the time, some people do it. But yes, it's not never rounded up. They don't forgive you. It's in general, aviation does not forgive much. It's not a word from an exam point of view, from a bureaucratic point of view, from operational point of view, especially, it doesn't forgive. So for 74.9, as Elvis is mentioning, it's 74. Don't ask me why. So guys, make sure you will prepare as good as you can, okay, for these subjects. And you will study also by yourself, because I've been through many students which think that I am the instructor, they come to me and I put the knowledge into their head. I will do everything is in my forces to give you as much knowledge as I can, okay? But then you are gonna be the one who will take the exam, okay? So you have to work hard alone, all right? That's very important. That's not actually to scare you, because everyone went through it, okay? So you don't have to worry, just it will take a lot of time to study, all right? But I assure you that it will pay back. What you need in order to accomplish these exams, in order just to take them, you will need to have a certificate, a ground school certificate. So the school will give you a certificate which states that you followed all the lesson, okay? That's why it's so important that you guys write down your names, that whenever you do the questions, you click on attendance, because we need, and I'm sure you want so bad, to have the certificate in order to do the exams. So in order to do so, we need to have you attended, okay? We need you to attend the lessons. So that's gonna be one of the requirements, okay? Then of course, passport, but that's more bureaucratic stuff. We will not face it today. Now, in order for the student, as I was saying, to receive this ground school certificate, he needs to attend all ground lessons, pass stage tests, very important, finish all the theoretical subject in the LMS, okay? Which we will see later how it works, the learning management system, for the whom of you who didn't open it yet. Finish test in exam mode in test portal, okay? Now this picture is quite old, it's not very updated, but I will show you later how it looks. This is more recent, okay? So at the end, toward the end of the lesson, we will go through everything you have to do to accomplish your goal, okay? And I will help you to go through the learning management system, which is quite big, but very, very useful, guys. Now, graduation requirement. What do you need to get your private pilot license? You need 45 hours total time of flight, okay? Total flight time, in which 25 hours minimum has to be dual. What does it mean dual? That an instructor has to be there with you, teaching you, showing you, and at some point also examining you to get to the next stage. Minimum of 10 hours solo, okay? So these are the two minimum requirements for getting your license. Now, the total time has to be 45, but 25 plus 10 makes 35. So it doesn't make much sense, right? This is why. Because it depends, the last 10 hours depends on the student, okay? Usually, very good students who really catch it quite easy, which have it very fast, there are very fast learners, okay? I'm sure you met them in your life, maybe you are one of them, but I met in my life many people who were able to just read something, get it, do it, amazing. I had to go through it 2,000 times to do it properly. So it depends on what kind of person you are. 25 hours minimum and 10 hours solo. If you are good, and let's say good, but good is not the proper word. If you are a fast learner, you will have, of course, more than 10 hours solo. So you may be able to catch 15, 20 even, okay? But if you are maybe more slowly, okay, you're slower to learn and to accomplish, maybe some people are also working here, so their time in one day is also limited, you know? So you may catch more than 24 hours, so you get maybe 35 hours, and then you get the minimum 10 hours solo, okay? This doesn't make you better pilot, doesn't make you worse pilot, guys, okay? It's totally doesn't depend on this, okay? It depends on how you are dealing in these 45 hours, okay? So the instructor will not evaluate you on, but this guy did 40 hours dual. No, it's not really like that. Some people are just more slower to learn. Some people, even maybe they're slower, but they work harder home, which I think is the best, because some people may not have that quick engagement of knowledge, but they work so hard at home that they make up for it. So it really doesn't matter. Just you have to have 45 hours at the end, and you have to pass the practical skill test. But let's go a little bit more into the details of these hours. So of these 10 hours, 5 hours have to be cross-country. Do you know what's the difference between a local and a cross-country flight? Anyone knows? You don't know. All right. So not abroad, almost, but not abroad. So a local flight is within the surrounding area of an aerodrome, okay, or an airfield. Cross-country is when you fly from a place from A to B or from A to B to C, okay? It doesn't matter if it's in the country, in your country, or is outside the country. Still, cross-country is. If it's out of the country, it's called international cross-country, okay? So this is 5 hours cross-country, means that you have to fly from A to B, okay? And one of these cross-country have to be accomplished in the following way. You have to fly 150 nautical miles, okay, with 2 full-stop landing at 2 different airports other than the one of the patch. It may be a bit confusing, but let's see together, okay? So 150 miles, all right? Till here, we all agree, I believe, is a distance point of view, okay? It's a distance measurement, and these cross-country have to be 150 miles. But how they have to be accomplished, these 150 miles? They have to be accomplished with 2 full-stop landings. What is a full-stop landing? You land, taxi back to the runway, and take off again. The full-stop landing is different from touch and go. The touch and go is putting the gear down and take off again, okay, immediately. You don't stop, basically. So has to be a full stop. You taxi back and then take off again. Now, this what you do in one airport, but then you have to fly to another airport in which you will do the same thing, and then back to the departure one. This is the requirement. So go from A to B, full stop in B, B to C, full stop in C, and back to A. This 150 miles. Okay? Now, in a CPL instead, we will also go through a little bit what's going to be furthermore for you guys. Okay? So let's not only stick to what's going to be your flight training, but also let's go a bit further. Okay? Now, your CPL, what you will have to have, the 200 hours total time, okay? 100 hours as a piloting command, which usually after PPL you accomplish. 20 hours of these 100 hours have to be a cross-country, in which one of these cross-country has to be 300 nautical miles far. And the PIC has to accomplish 2 full stop at different aerodrome other than the one of departure. So you basically do the same thing as you were doing in your PPL training, but 300 miles. Now, these are the requirements, but then you need the training. So what's going to be the training? It's going to be 15 hours dual and 5 hours on a complex aircraft. What is a complex aircraft, as we are seeing in the picture? A complex aircraft has a couple of requirements, which now I will not go through all of them, but the main one is propeller, a variable pitch propeller. It means that the propeller can change the angle with which rotate through the air, okay? And the pilot can do it from the cockpit. The other requirement is that has a retractable gear, okay? So retracting the gear and lowering down the gear, okay? Also, the power of the aircraft, of the engine, has to be at least 200 horsepower. Okay, these are the main requirements. We will go in the next lesson through the variable pitch propeller, because the next lesson will be already operative, will be aerodynamic in flight. Okay, guys. So we will. Don't worry, we will see everything together and. Okay, and it's gonna be fine. Now, IFR, okay? So between your PPL, what you will do is you will take your ATPL theory, which we will get through it, ATPL theory, and then you will start normally with the IFR, okay? IFR training. So what is IFR training? Anyone knows what IR training is? Anyone knows what an instrument rating is? What's the difference between our PPL and cross-country and all these things? What is the purpose of the IR? Does anyone know? Exactly. So for PPL and CPL, guys, you will be required to look outside and use a method of navigation which is called dead reckoning. So what it is, that it consists in the fact that you basically look outside, check landmarks, some landmarks, okay? Look at outside, and through the terrain, the rivers, the sea, the mountains, you will be able to orientate yourself. In IFR, it doesn't work like that. You don't have to look outside anymore. That's how the biggest aircraft fly, okay? They basically fly as in instrument condition, okay? So you don't look outside anymore, look inside the aircraft, you don't care anymore, and that's it. Your instrument, trust your instruments, okay? Now, the requirement is for 50 hours cross-country as a piloting command, which will be included in the 100 hours of before for the CPL. 50 hours dual with an instructor, okay? I can assure you this is quite shocking training, because you are used to look outside, and And then you say, but it's quite easy. I mean, what's the issue of looking inside? And it's almost easier, okay? It is easier if you know how to do it. But to get to know how to do it, it may take time. I remember the first 20 hours I flew my IFR training, and it was a nightmare because you have amount of work to do in the aircraft to set up the instruments, GPS, charts, and everything, which it's killing you. Then slowly with the time, okay, I started to actually fly the aircraft, and it became very funny, very, very actually enjoyable. So the IFR training, guys, is one of the most important parts of your training because it's where you learn the basic with which you will bring the bigger aircraft in your future, if that's, of course, your objective. So 50 hours dual, which look many, but they are quite right, I think. Maybe after 40 hours, you start to understand how to fly IFR. But for me, for faster learner, maybe more, I don't know. So MEP, okay, after IFR, CPL, and everything, you will do MEP, multi-engine piston. So what is multi-engine pistons? Two engine, not one anymore, two, okay? And this is even more shocking than IFR because the aircraft is flying so fast and you are used to do your amount of work in a certain amount of time with one engine, okay? You are fast with one engine, but then you get used to it and you will see after your PPL, it will be like driving a car. The problem is that then you will get to a multi-engine. A multi-engine will be double fast almost. So super fast and very, 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 very difficult to control if you come from a single engine. So again, a lot of work, a lot of study. It consists in 11 hours dual and 11 hours dual of which 5 hours VFR part, visual, 6 hours instrument, okay, in which you will practice maneuvers, everything, and also the one engine in operative, okay? So failure of one engine and how to control the aircraft with one engine. That's basically about it.